My colleagues have done a really good job of framing this conversation and providing context. And Chairman Rice, I've heard you give a lot of speeches, but that was like top 5 for me because that was really beautifully laid out in terms of the chronology of getting us to where we are today. And I thought you did a good job acknowledging that there are differing opinions on this issue, passionate differing opinions on this issue. But what we all agree on is that there's nothing more important than the safety and security, literal but also emotional, of our children, youth, and families, but also our faculty and staff. As Councilmember Navarro just stated, she's absolutely right. We've all experienced some level of trauma these last 2 years, and especially our most vulnerable populations. I just want to say 3 things. The first is, as I provide some context on my thinking before we have this conversation, number 1 is this: I have a tremendous amount of respect and confidence in the professionals, both within Montgomery County Public Schools, also Montgomery County Police, and our Department of Health and Human Services, who are working the most closely together on the government side to coordinate programs and services. And there have been relationships established over generations that have helped engender trust and really best practices, both at the system-wide level, but also at the individual school levels as well. And we're going to need to lean in on that infrastructure and that trust and that communication as we try and address what's happening on the ground right now, which is different, which does feel different, because it is different in what our kids are experiencing and the level of crimes that we have seen rise here in our community as well. And so I have always felt that it should be at the operational level where most of these decisions are made, and that my colleagues in the legislative body play a critically important role to provide support, to provide resources, to connect dots. But I think that as we're about to hear in this conversation and updates on where things stand with a community engagement officer position, I have a high degree of confidence in our current system. The second thing I would say is that this is not just, as we all know, an MCPS and MCPD issue. This is an all hands on deck situation. Every one of us has a role to play, either directly within our schools or in and around our schools, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to support these children, youth, and families in the way that they need support. And so this is a broader conversation beyond the one we're just about to have. And we all know that, but sometimes it's hard for us to process that in a way that makes sense and that we can communicate clearly to our public. But this has never been an either or, and it continues to not be. We need to provide strong mental health, social supports for our kids and our families, while also ensuring that we have well-trained and dedicated professionals in the safety and security space who can address the needs, the very many complex needs of our kids. And the final thing I'll say is this, for now. I've seen what it looks like when a caring adult, including a law enforcement official, establishes a relationship and trust with our kids. And that is paramount to helping to help address very complex issues, to solve cases, to head really complex and dangerous situations off at the pass before they spiral out of control. And so I think with the appropriate support, the appropriate training, the appropriate construct for us to have open communication and transparency, that I know we can get this right. And it will never be perfect. The situation will continue to evolve. But I've seen what it looks like when it works well. And I know that that's not just isolated. That can be the rule, and it will be the rule. And we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to support everybody to be in the best possible position to succeed.